Hello, everyone. Welcome to Psychology and Spirituality, a bridge to a better life discussion. My name is Marcia Trajano, and I'm here with Jussara Korngold, our program founder, and sometimes my co-host, right, Jussara? And Jussara is here with me today as we are both inviting you, all of you here with us, to enter in a different, perhaps quieter landscape of grief, right? Not the grief that follows a tangible, visible loss, but the grief that lives in silence. Jussara, how you doing?
Hello, Marcia. Hello, everyone. I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to be here again today.
That's so good. So, Jussara, this is what I propose to do, that we talk, perhaps we can think, let's say, a younger generation today, if we think about all of those amazing people that we have in our lives and how so many of us are carrying this kind of sorrow, right? And it's a sorrow that we don't know, we don't have a name to give. It's just there, and there is nothing visible, like no funeral to go, no one specifically talking about it, but it is quite real, right? And so for us to start talking about it, just that I thought that maybe you want to talk about what your thoughts are on this reflection around the grief of, let's say, a life that didn't quite unfold as we wished, as we expected, as we planned, or something like our own sense of self, or sense of identity that never got to take hold, right? That idealized form of who we are that never took took roots, or this sense of that we never felt that we belonged to any place or anyone, or even a dream that just faded because it could never be materialized. That's a lot of areas that we can talk about, but I would love to have your opinions on that.
Yeah, Marcia, that's a very deep subject, I think, and one that maybe all of us um, will feel to be very close. I think that in a certain way, all of us may have this longing, this emotion, this emptiness, this void, like we address it in this, we are addressing in this podcast, that we cannot exactly pinpoint where does this come from,
Mhm.
what is really happening to us. And actually can be for a lot of reasons, like you mentioned. But and sometimes, we even question ourselves. I remember once a friend of mine coming to me and talking and opening herself about how she was feeling. And she said, look, I have nothing to complain about in my life. I have a wonderful marriage. I have two beautiful children. I'm working in the profession that I like. My husband and I, we are both professionally succeeded, but there is something that is missing, and I don't know what it is. And sometimes I even feel guilty about it because it seems that I'm not valuing all the blessings that I have. And
Mhm.
I think for starters, I think we should actually think about this, first
Yeah.
of all, valuing the more and thinking more and giving more importance to the blessings that we have, and
Yeah.
being very aware of that, like other chapter, in other episode we mentioned about the loss of health, the loss of a professional career. And
Yeah.
um, but when we are talking about giving importance and being very conscious about what we have and giving blessings, it's not just, for us to hear and say, oh, okay, you're saying a nice phrase like, life gave me lemons. I made lemonade. It's not that.
Yeah,
I think it's also a response for us how to survive. We cannot survive with pessimistic ideas. We
yeah,
cannot survive in just wishing for what we don't have. It's a very childish way of behaving.
yeah.
I remember, I was just thinking about that. My son was like, I want this toy. And as soon as I bought this toy, the certain
Mm,
toy for him, okay, he would be happy for a day. Next day, he would want a different toy. And
yeah,
and so that sometimes we act like that. We
yeah,
don't give proper value, and we keep on focusing on
yeah.
what we don't have, and this is the void.
And I love because you're moving from the void to also address this culture of us that has intentionally, I believe, this is my opinion, Jusada, that is a society that's catering to the sense of scarcity, right?
Mhm,
We always are in a position that we don't have enough. But I
mhm,
think we're really talking what was expressed by your son when he was a kid, right? Oh, yeah, I want something, and it's not fulfilled with the presence of a toy. But I really like where you started with the idea. And from the start, we need to look at our mindset.
mhm,
Are we grateful? Are we conscious? Are we aware with what already is fulfilling us? Be a toy, be a glass of water,
yeah,
whatever. Do we take the time to be grateful, or the other side of it would be just a pessimistic approach? But from the void specifically, and I mentioned earlier, Jasad, and you're an expert on this subject, but the question that is here has some quite interesting meaning from a psychological but also spiritual perspective, right? When we are not quite there. So maybe do you feel that we can talk about when we say the grief of what never was, right? It
mhm,
never materialized, which makes me think it is a grief about an unfulfilled promise, a potential, right? It is something that it was a dream, it was an illusion, it was an ideation, perhaps,
mhm.
but never materialized. But can you talk a little bit about what psychology we talk as the disenfranchised grief?
Yeah. First of all, let us validate the
Sure.
void,
Yeah.
and feeling the void. Because, like I said at the beginning, I imagine um, that every one of us at some point, or even today, we feel this void.
Yeah.
And the void may be justified, because there are countless situations or dreams, hopes that we have that or had that have not been fulfilled.
Yeah.
And some of them are more difficult for us to deal with than others. And why is it so hard and so difficult for us to deal with the grief of the void? It's because, the world will not understand us. As much as you will try to explain and say, I'm missing something that I never had.
Yeah.
People think you're saying a crazy thing. Well,
Yeah.
what do you want to say about that? I was thinking, for instance, let's take the example of a caregiver. Okay,
Yeah.
someone that is going to be has a profession, for instance, to be looking after an elderly person, and then this person dies,
Mm.
and many people maybe will, in a very insensitive way come and say, this is your profession, this is what you choose to work with, how come you are going to miss this person? You knew the person was going to be dying.
Yeah.
And so somehow this is the disenfranchised form of grief. The world is not going to validate your grief. Or what do you mean you miss not being a doctor? You were never a doctor. Exactly because of that. Because I had this dream. I look at doctors every day, and I think, although their lives are very hard, this is, the dream that I had and could not fulfill. How many stories we have of people that, couldn't afford the time, the
Hmm.
money, right, the family situation to pursue a dream, a career, to have certain knowledge. And then people say you should move on, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, you do, and we have to, and this is what we are talking about here. But I think at the same time that we are talking about, and this is all about Joana de Angelis' teachings, we are talking about looking at ourselves, and really allow us to see all our emotions
Yeah.
and
To honor them, right? Just
honor.
gotta to honor, to feel and embrace all that comes from within.
Exactly. And then, I mean, if I'm trying to say no, it's okay that I never found a partner like, so many of my friends and family have, or I never had the job of my dreams,
Yeah.
or I wanted to be a singer but I didn't have the voice,
Yeah.
or I wanted to be a mother, a father, but couldn't procreate. I couldn't have a child. So, I mean, those are very important emotions for us to address and to validate within ourselves. And it is okay. It is okay that we are going to be, feeling that, there is this void,
Hmm.
as long as we don't remain there, as we don't bury ourselves in it.
Hmm.
The idea
Yeah.
is just to acknowledge the pain, the longing, the
Yes.
grief,
Yeah.
right? The void. But at
Yeah.
the same time, saying to yourselves, it's okay. And I mean, from the spiritual perspective, which is absolutely amazing, I think. And this is what actually took me to this way, is to know that we are immortal beings,
Yes.
right? We are immortal beings. So when we are talking about immortality, it means we have time, we will have the opportunity for everything to happen to us,
Yeah.
for us to experience it, many different things, and perhaps things that are not coming our way this time, this lifetime. It is for, it's better this way, or it has a reason. There is always a processes behind
Yeah.
all of this. But
Yeah.
what I really wanted to emphasize is, do not feel bad
Hmm.
if you feel that. Do not feel bad about talking to people that you trust about your longings, about, the needs that you didn't have fulfilled this time. But always,
Yeah. You're
keep,
not alone, right? You're not alone. And
no.
I have please don't laugh at me. None of you, please. But I have to tell you, I lived away from my parents, my family home, for the majority of my life. And growing up, my mother was not, for different reasons, but she was not someone who cuddled, who, none of that. We had nannies, we had all of this, but no one to just, go into her lap and she would hold me. And Jusada, in as an adult, when things just got really hairy, I always had this idea in my mind, oh, I want to be held by my mom.
Mhm.
And it's so funny because the minute the thought process would come as a need to be consoled, to be to become a child again, if you will, I would come with my rational mind and say, dream on, you never had it. So
Mhm.
it's that perhaps an example of the feeling that like you said, you wish you were a doctor, you grieving not being a doctor, but you're never there, so why are you grieving? And for all of us, this is really, and I keep thinking of perhaps Brene Brown on her work on empathy, right? Let's be empathetic, let's be emotionally intelligent to understand if anyone, including ourselves, are feeling that sense of nostalgia for something that never existed. Let's honor that, let's be there, let's um let's welcome that, right?
Yeah, and I think it's very good that you brought this life experience because what we have to think for ourselves is okay. I didn't have the hugs from
Yeah.
this most important person in my life,
Mhm.
but I have so many hugs. And it's not fair to all those who truly love me and care for me and hug me all the time that I do not realize the importance of their hugs and just keep longing for the hug I didn't
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, this is the spirit. And again, it's not to play with us, it's not to say, okay, you have to live in denial of what you really want or what you truly want. But, sometimes it is, we go through the experiences in life that we need, and somehow how many times we look back and I hear people saying I would never be today what I am if I haven't gone through those
Correct.
things. And so somehow we know, we acknowledge the fact that our lives are weaved in a way that
Yeah.
at the end of the day will help us in this growth process.
Yeah, this beautiful tapestry called life.
Yeah.
But, going back to a little bit of what you're saying, from a psychological perspective, we talked about briefly the term of disenfranchised grief. There is no grief, therefore you're not giving the place to grieve or the acknowledgement, right?
Mhm.
In philosophy, I would say it is all about the tension between reality, the reality that we live, that we forged, that we implemented in the realm, the abstract realm of possibilities.
Mhm.
But and you already mentioned to it, but I think it's important for us to bring it again from a spiritual perspective. This immortal soul that we all have, right, that we are, is perhaps longing to meet the, oh my goodness, the word that comes to my mind is the mystery of the existence that we promised ourselves. Joanna DeAngelis, she has a beautiful book called Existential Conflicts that talks in, if we were to talk really high level here, of all the obstacles that come our way that really make, that become conflicts. This is not what we're saying here. What we're talking is that each and every one of us have an existence that is so rich, so beautiful, so mysterious, if you will, but we may all have to face with this void, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and the thing about the void is that if we don't face it,
Yeah.
okay, if we try to deny it, that of course there are things that I wanted to have, I wanted to be, myself, for instance, when I was a little girl, I wanted to be a scientist, a doctor,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and an astronaut. I would be the first woman to set foot on Mars. That were my desires.
I
My
love it.
you
Uh-huh.
you cannot achieve that, not even in one of them in one lifetime, right? I mean, it's and of course it was not any common doctor or I mean, not saying common, okay, but any regular doctor
Yeah, like
or,
me.
or a scientist. I really wanted to be working with all of those things, and astronaut and all of this.
Yeah.
So I mean, the thing here, when we were talking about this void, and like I saying, not denying, face it,
Yeah.
is being true to yourself and being true to the loved ones you have. You have to address the subject as well. You know,
Yeah.
there are dreams, there are things in my in myself that I would like to have accomplished in life. But this is not, it doesn't mean that you are going to be just looking at those things and, if I don't have that, what I have has no value, is not worth it. It's like, being before a crossroad. Okay, you are
Mm.
always going to second guess, to think, what would have happened if I took a different path,
Yeah.
if I had chosen a different profession, if I had chosen, a different partner, or not having a partner at all, or having children or not having children, you know,
Mhm.
in both ways, we are going to be experiencing life.
Yeah.
In both
And a
ways,
loss, right? No matter what, there will always be the loss of what could not have become because you chose something else.
sometimes, the void comes from a dream you want to,
Mhm.
or something you want to accomplish,
Yeah.
but you have to weigh, uh, among the things that you have before you. Sometimes let's say you want to go and live abroad, but your parents are old. Your
Mhm.
parents' health requires your presence and your assistance. And gladly, you are going to stay there, and you're doing a wonderful thing. You're giving, your loving care to them. But at the same time, there is this thing, I missed
Yeah.
being abroad. And then I mean, we live abroad now, right, Marcia? I'm
Mhm.
sure you know a lot of people like I do, that one of the things that they miss most is actually not being with their families, or
Yes.
not being there when their family ones start going to a process of old age, decay, and even death. They had to make a choice.
Yeah.
And of course, and sometimes, people may be insensitive to the point of coming to you and saying, don't even talk about it. You chose that. You knew this was
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is why sometimes this the void, like we say, it can be so lonely,
Yes.
because people do not acknowledge, like, you don't have a photograph of the wife or the husband you thought one day you were going to have, and you miss this, something that you just wish to have a partner for your life, a married
Yeah.
life, or a child that was never born. You never even got pregnant, so to say, and all of a sudden you say, I feel not having a child. How come you feel, not having a child? You don't know
Yeah.
what it is. And sometimes people that do have a child will come to you, oh, you don't know how much better it is. You're the lucky one because you never had a child. I mean, we don't know the hurt of that person. We
Yeah.
don't know the situation. And and this is why, this void, this gray area, but that is not necessarily gray, it's the empty space,
Yes.
can really take us uh, completely, to the point of like this friend that I gave the example, coming to me and saying, I don't know what's wrong with me,
Hmm.
because I have everything. But at the same time, there is something missing. Of
Yeah.
course, we never went through, and I'm not a therapist. We never went through this whole process of trying to understand what she was really missing. But of course, there is something else that is there, and that is calling your attention,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Jussara, can we pivot a little bit and perhaps talk about that type of grief in the young ones, that generation that perhaps is facing a new world than my world as at their age, right? It's a world that is, wow, changing so fast. I think there's a research that talks about every 2 years, the knowledge that you have is already obsolete, which makes me think, why are we going to college for 4 years
Yeah,
based on a curriculum that is 50 years old? And after 4 years, it means nothing. Just joking. Go to college, everyone. Education is important. But it is that type of thing that with um, the enormous amount of content being created today and the world, the ways of working is changing so fast. And there is a multitude of imagined futures that you cannot even put your hand on, right? I always joke when I see references to the Jetsons, I think is
mm,
the cartoon
yeah,
where it was the family of the future, and yes, they were talking to their watch, and yes, we could do that, or they're seeing things in their little device, and yes, it's already, all of it is already materialized now. And when we were kids, or I was a kid, it seemed something so, so, so far fetched, right? To live amongst robots, etc., etc. But, back to today, and that generation that is going through this now, it's you are, perhaps I'm going to say 25, and you have the world opened up to you, but it's this fleeting type of do this, because by the time you grasp to that, it's already gone, right? Those paths perhaps close before you even ready to begin. How can we manage dealing with that type of grief? How can we truly honor that life that we thought we would have, but by the time I'm starting to do it, it's already gone. I know some career paths, for example, where you need to take, let's say, 4 years plus another year, and you have a given um, opportunity at a highly technical field, let's say, and when you get there, oh, it's no longer needed. Technology has rendered your life obsolete,
yeah.
and it's terrible, right?
This is the good thing about human beings, right? We are
Mm,
very creative, and we
true.
can keep on reinventing ourselves.
Mm.
Again, is not the thing. Is not to be crying over milk,
Yeah.
it is there, let's go, okay. And I think it's very important that you mentioned, about the young people, who I think in this case of feeling obsolete, it's not just the one thing that is happening with the more mature people audience. I think it's happening even amongst our youth, because how come
Yeah.
you don't know the last device or the last, you know,
Yeah.
anything related to technology, that it keeps on popping up every day, a different one, a more improved technology. But the thing is, we have to be paying attention to that, and I think we have to pay special attention to the young adults, because they do not have the same structure and
Mhm.
emotional psychological structure that the adults have
Yeah.
to be able to face those kind of adversities and these immediate changes. And but I think at the same time, we all, regardless of age, we are all suffering from all those impositions, like you said, the, now you need that, you have to do that, you have to know how to deal with AIs, you have to have a mobile phone, you have to have all those things. And that it's so much pressure
Yeah.
in us, or you have to have a certain degree, or and I think this can be very heavy, and also give you that idea that at the end of the day, you're a failure, because you are not conquering everything that people say you have to have.
Yeah.
And
I
I
to
think
tell
we
you.
have to say enough.
Yeah, I have to tell you, this is an example, real life, this week at my work, where I was asked to take a look at a job description,
Hmm.
and and they wanted somebody with Lean Six Sigma, black belt, a certified project management, a change management, and the complete path as design structure. So we're talking about four paths, right? Plus 5 or more years implementing artificial intelligence.
Hmm.
And so I looked at it, said, "This is great, but you want a unicorn, right? You want something that doesn't exist, because you want varying degrees of specializations that would take four people more or less to get to where you need to be,
Hmm.
and you're asking for a level of experience for new technology that is not there yet."
Hmm.
And I thought, and of course, I was just there. I was asked to get my opinion, so people got, "Marcia, stop there." But it's the sense of there is so much pressure, as you're saying,
Yeah.
right? The external
Hmm.
pressures are putting us at a very uncomfortable place, and we still have some expectations that mirror a perhaps and I'm sorry if I'm offending anyone, including myself, but an antiquated view of the world, right? So I love that you said, we human beings, we are nimble, we are creative, we can transform ourselves. And I think that's perhaps the lesson that we need to think about this topic here.
And again, when we are talking about the void, it's
Mm,
not necessarily just about missing things that we wish that have happened to us, or
mm,
like we mentioned before, professions fulfilled, dreams fulfilled. But it's
mm.
also about allowing silence,
Yes.
calmness.
Yeah.
And there is this expression in Japanese that they say ma, that it refers to the space between things, and sometimes in our day-to-day lives, it seems that we cannot stay quiet
Yeah.
anymore, or if we give a pause, and sometimes giving a pause it's very important for people to, start building up more, to, to really absorb what you are trying to, to convey in this conversation, or in this talk, whatever you're doing, and so this lack, or this is empty space,
Mm-hmm.
uh, shouldn't lead us just to anguish and regret, and like we said before, not valuing the real experiences we are living. Is that common thing about looking at the glass half empty or half full. I may be crying all the time for the things, for the half empty.
Yeah.
But it comes to a point that you have to become mature enough and to say, you know what? Yes, of course I want it to be completely full, and I'm working for it, and I'm going to achieve that. But so far, this is what I have. And what I have now should be enough. I
Yeah.
started
I
with
love the analogy, by the way, but keep going.
I,
Yeah.
I started with a glass empty. Okay.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Remember that you were an empty glass. You were a blank slate, and now it may not be, the 10 commandments. Maybe you'll just have five. Okay, just one tablet, not the other. But you're in the way of doing that. And if you just keep on thinking about what you could have been,
Yeah.
you're never going to be happy.
Yeah. So
Because
if I go back to the idea of regret, you mentioned that, right? We could indeed, it's a real feeling, and we mentioned that we want to honor that feeling of the void, even though we don't have a name to talk about it, but it's real. But the mindset of revisiting or reflecting upon the unlived life that
Mhm.
we have, that space, very beautifully said, the space in between things, right? Let's pay attention to that. But also, I think we need to understand that regret, for regret's sake, if you don't do anything about it, is just a wasted emotion, right? It's important to differentiate that I'm looking, and yes, I wanted to be, let's say, a painter. I don't even have to be famous. I just wanted to be an artist, plastic artist, right? I wanted to sculpt, I want to paint, etc. And I'd never done that. Well, there's still time. There's still time. Honor the void that you're feeling and go for it, right? Just how to,
And by acknowledging that,
yeah,
by being true to ourselves, one of the good things that we can do is help others in this process.
yeah,
Have you noticed how much we come to people and say, um, "Yeah, I wish you were this way," or "You're missing that,"
yeah,
or we are always looking for what is not there,
yeah,
and people are actually pointing this out in relation to us as well. Oh, you would look nicer if your hair were longer.
yeah, yeah,
Little silly things
yeah,
that instead of making you feel good about yourself, is always
mhm,
about what I'm missing. Like
yeah,
sometimes we do with children. Oh, you're never going to be able to learn this, and the
yeah,
child is going to have a problem, a psychological problem, in overcoming this statement in the future, because it is a statement. And when we
yeah,
say that to others, and when we say that to ourselves, if you had that, you would be happy, you're immediately putting yourselves and putting others in a position that I'm not being seen. you know, the good things, the victories I had, you know, everything that I conquered is not being seen. The only thing that is seen is what is missing, what is it could have been.
Yeah.
And in this way, not only we do not make ourselves unhappy, but also others, because we keep on, you know, demanding
Yeah.
so much from us. And you know, it's so much easier to you know, to live the dream sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, if I was
Yeah.
living New York City, my life would be like, you know, the
Uh-huh.
happiest thing that one can imagine. And then you come to the city, is noise, is a lot of people, is hard life, is work, is, you know,
Yeah.
safety. It's so many things. Oh, but yeah, but we do have a Central Park that is absolutely wonderful. And
Uh-huh.
it came from the imagination of a person, is entirely built in. So I can look at the different aspects
Yeah.
and say, okay, is it perfect?
Yeah.
No, it's not. But you know, it has so many things that it can give to me. I have Broadway, right?
Yeah. I hear you. I hear you. Yeah.
The
But
opera, or
yes.
you know, I have the big city. I have everything that I have 24 hours, uh,
Yeah.
7 days a week shopping. If I want to go eat someplace, it's going to be open. So yeah, I think, I mean, the main thing here is that don't stay too long just in regretting or
Yeah.
imagining or dreaming, or just keep yourself in the dream. Maybe you are
Yeah.
living the dream and you're not realizing that.
Yeah.
And only when it's no longer there, when that
Yeah.
child that you think that sometimes it's, you know, so annoying, or
Yeah.
that husband that is sometimes so insensitive,
Yeah.
or that job that I have difficulties in dealing with my co-workers.
Yeah.
Then you don't have it anymore, and then
Yeah.
you say, okay, I was just focusing on this aspect, but what about the others? And now sometimes, I mean, there is a story about Chico Xavier's. For those who
Uh-huh.
do not know about him, he was, you know, a peacemaker, uh, a very endowed medium, and a
Yeah.
charitable person in all the ways, and people would come from all over the world to try to meet him, and in his humbleness and all this. And there is one of his stories about a woman that comes to him for advice and for, you know, words of comfort, and she says that she has it's very hard for her to live in her household because her husband drinks too much.
Mm.
And when he drinks too much, it's really unbearable to deal with him. And she was somehow asking the advice of Chico Xavier if
Yeah.
she could perhaps divorce him. And
Yeah.
of course, you know, he would never meddle in the ways of people. I mean, and he just told her, be patient, my daughter, you know, um, wait and be patient. And sometimes,
Uh-huh.
you know, you would live there frustrated because you wanted to, you know, to
Yeah.
have your desire validated. Go there and send this man away. And I mean, and after a few months,
Yeah.
she came back, and
Uh-huh.
he remembered her, and he asked, how are you doing, my my child, my daughter? And she said,
Yeah.
well, I'm very sad, Chico. Remember that I came here complaining about my husband. Well, he passed away.
Oh.
I miss him every day. This is who we
Oh.
are.
Yeah.
We I mean, there it's not perfect,
Yeah. Yeah.
but there are things, the companionship, the right, the presence,
Yeah.
the quirks that the person may have, all of this, when we no longer have it, the
Yeah.
profession, the child that now is an adult, right? And so don't stay too long in the thought that, of what you don't have or you think it would be the
What,
best for
what
you.
could have been, right? What could
Yes,
have been? Yeah.
exactly. Yes.
And I think as we are coming to the end of our talk today, Josada, I think there's so many reasons, including, of course, social media. Not that we're bad mouthing social media, but the constant comparison that we find in things like social media,
Mhm.
or on the other hand, the fear of missing out that derives from infinite infinite options that modern life offers us, or perhaps let's think of another example, the question of my life path is X, but it's obsolete. So there's
Mhm.
something about that industry that collapsed, and it's okay. Or the pressure, and I think you mentioned that before, the pressure of being something extraordinary, and it's too much. We are putting ourselves into that point that it's doomed to lead us to suffering, right? And so let's think about, even though there's many reasons why the disappointment may find, we may find disappointment in our lives because we are comparing ourselves to a dream or to others. But for us, before we leave, for us to really come crisp with, how can I deal with that? How do I learn to live with the void, regardless from where it comes? How do we do that, Josada? Right. And I think you already mentioned to it. I just want us to close our talk with, let us learn to live with it. Right.
Yeah, I was while we were talking, I was just thinking about a citation
Hmm.
of Jesus
Yeah.
that I think it could apply here. It talks more about judging and criticizing, as before you judge your neighbor, walk a mile in his
Yeah.
sense. But I think it applies as well here because, like you were saying, with the social media, all of that, sometimes, we look at pictures and we believe that this, the life that the person is having is paradise,
Yeah.
but we don't know. We don't know if we would trade.
It's at a minimum curated, right? Edited to only show the best part of that experience at a minimum.
And
Yeah.
sometimes, psychologically speaking, we have
Mhm.
to do that even to convince ourselves that we are happy and
Sure.
that we are fulfilled, because sometimes life is so hard that
Yeah.
I have to materialize something in pictures, in comments, whatever,
Yeah.
to be like a mantra that I'm going to be repeating. Look how marvelous my life is. Look how
Yes.
marvelous my life is. And you're going to, to actually be convinced of that, and that those are the important things. But so I think we should think about that. There are many people that
Mm.
live in the big city that would love to trade and live in a quiet, peaceful town. Others that would say, no, I would like to be in your place. And everything has its pros and cons. It's
Yeah.
the beauty side and the ugly side of things, but it's up to us to look for the beauty in the world. I mean, and I think this is the attitude that we should have towards ourselves. And I know
Yeah.
that I have repeated that so many times that I think we really need repetition sometimes. You
Yeah.
know, it's be grateful, and but at the same time allowing yourself
Yeah,
to feel, yes, there is something missing. I still could not experience this
yeah,
event, this thing,
yeah,
but it doesn't mean that I'm not whole because of that.
yeah. And I think Josara, really appreciate you saying that, right? Because on one hand, and you mentioned it's a mindset shift, right? It's a paradigm shift. If we could, let's say, something that's happening to me and I'm feeling the void, I can either, I don't know, respond with bitterness, right? With the, oh, I'm a victim, life failed me, or denial. The void doesn't matter. I'm not going to honor the void. Or the third component, which is a much more psychologically mature way to deal with this void, which is recognize it, become aware, keenly aware, and understand that it perhaps may have shaped us. So, from a spiritual perspective, Josette, I think it's important for us to bring to everyone the idea that this void can be the catapult for us living in a place of humility, right? As well as if I know my smallness in this moment, how small I am regarding all the possibilities, but let's look at the hope that can be born out of the opportunities. So let's think about how we can cultivate, if you will, self compassion as well as wisdom and sensitivity to ourselves and to all the others that are going through the same. Jusada, any final thoughts before we say
No,
goodbye?
that's perfect. I think we we can live with those thoughts today, and I just wish everyone, well, and
Mhm.
uh, I wish you all can appreciate life and the blessings you have. Like I'm still learning to do with myself and my life.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Jusara. Thank you, everyone, for being with us, listening to our conversation about the void. And we want to also thank our sponsors, Mansão do Caminho, the United States Spiritist Federation, the International Spiritist Council, and AMI Brazil. Thank you so much, everyone. So long. Until next time.